What's good, family? So mash the like button and subscribe. Wow! So my man's the JP smokes TYRON WOODLEY's boots all the way for him, yeah? Your man's the JB has made your man's the YB hella rich tonight. No doubt, 10 to 1 odds on the points win. You see? Bookies, listen, your man's the YB's got the bookies down super duper bad right now. They mad sick. 100% confirmed. Now listen. Let's get to it. Was this win controversial? Absolutely not. And what frustrates me the most about this is the fact that if it wasn't for that goofy looking ass judge, no one would be talking about a rematch. Woodley wouldn't be mentioning nothing. Yeah? It's only because of that goofy looking ass judge who was paid off, from what I'm hearing. Don't worry, listen. I've got some information coming soon. You best believe some leaked information coming real soon to a channel near you. Yeah? I'm telling you, that judge was paid off, because there's no way Woodley won 5 out of 8 rounds. No way. All he did was stand there, looking goofy. He weren't throwing his hands. For example, the opposite. Let me give you an example of how Woodley would have to look to win that fight. Now, Woodley is obviously the smaller man, but guess what? Look at how Floyd beat Logan Paul. Floyd beat Logan Paul. He was small, even smaller than Woodley was. Comparatively speaking, Floyd was coming forward, pushing the pace, and throwing his hands. Look at the fight stats. JP was throwing more and landing more. He was dominating the fight on the outside. Now, I'm actually pretty critical of the JP. You might know my pre-fight prediction. My pre-fight prediction was that the first clean shot that lands, the first clean power shot that lands from the JP was going to be the beginning of the end for TYRON Woodley. And it's interesting, again, listen to the particular words I used. I said the first, I really emphasised it. I said the first clean right hand or left hook or power punch that lands will be the beginning of the end. And guess what? Jake Paul didn't get any clean power punches off. Why? He was too busy going backwards, too busy backing up. Now, in the pre-fight build-up, Jake Paul said, I can fight everywhere. I can fight on the inside, I can fight on the outside. All we've seen so far, really, when someone robust like TYRON Woodley's been in front of him, obviously he's only had one fight. What he's doing, it's never been done before, in my opinion. What he's doing is amazing, no doubt about that. To be his 4th fight and fighting a man with 20 years experience in combat fighting, and to be a super athlete like Woodley is phenomenal. And to win a shutout, in my opinion, Jake Paul won 6 out of 8 rounds tonight. Was it 6 or was it 5-3? I'm not sure. I either had it 5-3 or 6-2. Either way, it was a shutout, no doubt. Woodley weren't doing nothing. And people said, oh look, he rocked the JP, he rocked him and had him on the ropes. No. Jake Paul got hit and then put off balance. He wasn't rocked. It was the angle. Because what Jake Paul does well, again, every time TYRON Woodley put pressure on him, he was using a pivot and an angle. He got caught against the ropes. As he pivoted, his feet got twisted up and he ended up using the balance on the ropes. And either way, listen, a knockdown is called a knockdown for a reason. There's ropes for a reason. If the ropes hold you up, the ropes hold you up. It's not a knockdown. And that just shows you actually how great or how solid Jake Paul's chin is, because we've seen many people be put down before. Darren Till, etc., from Woodley. So don't give me that rubbish. Jake Paul, the YouTuber, the goofy vlogger, took your man's UFC pound for pound MMA Hall of Fame GOAT #1, took his right hand and kept it pushing, and outboxed him. Boxed his head clean off for him, is what the JP did to TYRON Woodley. And now you got your man's TYRON Woodley begging about a rematch. You had your chance, and honestly, yeah, you know me, I'm all for rematches. But you had your chance. What is this? Oh, I want to run it back because the judge said. What's the judge got to do with the fact you just had 8 rounds already? Yeah? Forget the judge. You had 8 rounds. And the worst thing is, your own trainer, Woodley, told you. You got 6 minutes left. I need a knockout. He told you. So let's not make out as a big mystery. Let's not make out that just because you paid off one judge. And from what I'm actually hearing, this is the thing. A lot of you goofies don't know, and that's why I'm gonna leak some exclusive information to you, man, right now. What a lot of you don't understand is, guess what? Jake Paul is now on Showtime. Who is Showtime? Showtime is Stephen Espinoza. Who is Stephen Espinoza? Floyd Mayweather. Oops. Guess what? Floyd Mayweather, he's all chummy with the Showtime dons. He's all chummy with the Showtime judges. Floyd Mayweather is in the pockets of one of the judges. 100% confirmed. That's what I'm hearing. But don't worry, trust me, I've got information to be leaked real soon. Yeah? I'm sure after some of you goofies heard that, you're thinking, ooh, the YB's got me there. Yeah, he has. Got you down super bad. No doubt. Bottom line is, the only reason there's even a smidgen of talk of rematch is that paid off, goofy looking ass referee. There's nothing rematch about this. And like I said, if this fight was genuinely close, or if Woodley had genuinely turned up, what frustrates me is Woodley didn't turn up. There's nothing that says anything will change in the second fight. Because he had 8 rounds, and for 8 rounds, all Jake Paul did was back up and throw and do some sporadic work. If TYRON Woodley couldn't find a way to get in, couldn't commit, or didn't want to be committed, he could have easily said, after the first 2 rounds, you know what, I want this. I'm going to bite down and get to work. After all, he's only boxing a goofy YouTuber. Oops. Yeah, Woodley's meant to be from the hood. Oh man, you know what, I'm from the hood. Well, if you're from the hood, get to work then. You aren't working. He was in there, and TYRON Woodley was scary of the power of the JP. Like I told you, Jake Paul has dangerous power, and if you disagree, ring your man's Woodley and ask him why he was being super scary on the outside. Because Woodley was walking forward but not doing nothing. He weren't throwing his hands. He was super duper scary to throw his hands. That's why. JP's got nasty, dastardly power in his hands. However, what I will say is, I mentioned at the start of the video that I believe Jake Paul would have finished Woodley if he'd have landed a clean shot. But this is the thing that's frustrated me with Jake Paul is he spent the whole night going back. I think out of 8 rounds, he probably spent a quarter of 1 round, maybe a minute of 1 round. Yeah, so maybe a minute in the whole fight. Maybe a minute in a 24-minute fight did Jake Paul spend going forward. It's difficult to win a fight like that. Now, he did win. But what I'm saying is, in the future, there's a reason people like Canelo Alvarez win every fight and win rounds. Because when you're coming forward, you're naturally ticking rounds off. And that's why Woodley even won any rounds. Because he was naturally coming forward. It's a lot easier to win fights coming forward. Now, where Woodley went wrong, and where Mayweather went right is, Woodley was coming forward and not throwing nothing. You still can't win a fight like that. Mayweather was coming forward and throwing punches. That's how you win. If Woodley was coming forward and throwing punches all night, then he would have won, no doubt. Because Jake Paul wasn't that active either, but guess what? He was more active. A more active fighter going back is going to beat a... Woodley wasn't doing anything. He was just standing there. Applying pressure with no punches. It's like a... I don't know. It's like a schlong with no nuts. It's good for nothing. Literally, yeah. Yeah? No doubt. So what Jake Paul needs to do in this next fight, or going forward in his career, he needs to learn how to come forward, apply pressure, fight on the inside. Now, these are high-level parts of boxing. We know boxers today, proper professional boxers who've been doing it 15 years, who can't fight on the inside. Deontay Wilder can't fight a lick on the inside. He's been doing it 15 years. Anthony Joshua, sporadic on the inside these days. Tyson Fury, he's slapping on the... To be fair, Fury, he's not productive on the inside, but he's better than some people. My point is, that is where the money is made in boxing today. Bottom line, if you can... It's the hardest skill in boxing, to be honest. Fighting on the inside. But if you can nail it down, that's where the money's made. And Jake Paul, like I've said, he has amazing power. But he's going to have to learn how to get it off. Going backwards and backing up, you can't use your tools there. And that's where he went wrong tonight. Not wrong, but that's where he's got a lot to learn in. He needs to learn how to work going forwards. Now, it's good to have both, but backing up is... That's the primary part of boxing. The first thing you do when you start boxing is back up. It's a natural human kind of emotion. Someone's coming forward, I'm going to go back. We have to get over that. And I think if he'd have met TYRON Woodley in the centre of the ring and tucked up and let Woodley throw his shots and started working Woodley would have been got all the way out of there. Woodley would have had no answers. The reason Woodley was able to look any little bit of good was the fact that Jake Paul was constantly going back. Now, from a visual point of view, and this is probably why the judge, apart from being paid off, apart from the payoff, the other reason, or the only reason, the judge give Woodley any point is because the visual of it. It's not rocket science here. When a man is constantly going backwards in a fight, it's a bad look. It's a bad look in terms of body language. A man going back, Tyron Woodley chasing Jake Paul around the ring for 8 rounds is a bad look. And I believe Woodley on that basis could have won 3 rounds, which is my point. That's why I said Woodley 2 or 3 rounds he won. He didn't win them because he was throwing punches. He hit Jake Paul about 2 times in the whole fight. Clean. So there's 2 rounds as such. Yeah? I give Woodley 3 rounds only because he was pressuring, and that's my point. Jake Paul didn't need to give them rounds off. Now I'm not saying you have to get in there and march forward from the jump, but it's about having a balance, if that makes sense. You can't be doing 8 rounds and go backwards for the whole 23 minutes out of 24 minutes. You've got to mix it up. You've got to do, I don't know, half a minute going forward, half a minute, you know what I mean, half a minute going back, and mix it up. That's how he would have made it a complete shutout. And that's, to be fair, what Mayweather in his career has done well. Yes, Mayweather at times ran, but other times he knew when to hold his feet and exchange, even against bigger people like Canelo Alvarez. Mayweather didn't just run the whole time. Mayweather, at points, holds his feet, exchanges, backs them up, and then moves. You've got to be able to do that, but again, that's the extremely high level of boxing. It's the parts of boxing that aren't taught these days. These days, people are taught, yeah, jab, run around, and Jake Paul's got he's got the heavy hands, but he needs to learn to get them off. And that's why I think he was falling short. He kept chopping this big overhand right off, the one we saw him catch Nate Robinson with, but you're not going to be able to. I haven't seen Jake Paul really throw a straight right hand. In fact, I didn't. In that fight, all I saw him throw was that chopping overhand right. Now it lands against who? It lands against Nate Robinson, a dude with no skill, but people who've been boxing for 20 years. You're never going to get that shot off. And in high-level boxing, you need a straight right hand. I didn't see one tonight. I didn't see Jake Paul throw one straight right hand. Or certainly he wasn't throwing it consistently. And for a man who's got the length advantage, that right hand should have been going, the straight one. All I saw him doing was just chop it. I don't like it. In my opinion, yeah, I'd get rid of that one, honestly. I'd get rid of it. I wouldn't even, if I was training Jake Paul, I wouldn't even train that one. Because especially if you're fighting high-level strikers, you ain't going to land it, in my opinion. Think of all the fights you've watched. How many times have you seen that kind of right-hand land in boxing? In UFC, in all these goofy striking things, maybe, but not in high-level boxing. And there's no need for it. If you've got a short, snappy right hand, look at, for example, Deontay Wilder sometimes, Anthony Joshua sometimes. You don't need a big choppy overhand. A short, snappy right hand will do the job if you're on point. So I would have liked to have seen Jake Paul shorten some of his shots up and get his offense going a bit. We didn't see any offense from Jake Paul tonight, which is a shame. And that's why the stoppage didn't come. He didn't get his offense off. But again, his bottom line is he's had 4 fights. And the fact people were questioning, oh, he can't go any rounds, he's not a real boxer. Listen, he's just shown he can go 8 pressure-filled rounds. Woodley wasn't playing. Jake Paul showed he had the cardio as such. People say, oh, he needs to work on his cardio. Of course he does. He's had 4 fights. Look at Tommy Fury. Tommy Fury, yeah, who's got twice as many fights as Jake Paul and been boxing 4 times as long, if not longer. He begged the commission to change the fight on 1 day's notice from a 6-round fight to a 4-round fight because he didn't have as much experience. So a man who has twice the amount of experience as Jake Paul just went life and death and was gassing. He was gassed. Tommy Fury was gassed after 4 rounds against a man half his size. Do you understand? Meanwhile, Jake Paul goes in there with half the experience for twice as many rounds and against an opponent who's a Hall of Fame GOAT. Yeah? Who's knocked people out before. Anthony Taylor ain't knocked no one out. So we have to bear that in mind. All these little criticisms I'm giving Jake Paul here is from the perspective of, I want to see him the best he can be. And I believe he can be super duper dangerous in the future going forward. I want to see Jake Paul smoke all these goofies. Smoke them all. All the UFC cut dons. Smoke them all. Masvidal, all of them, man. Run through them all. Yeah? No doubt. But overall, I'm happy. The bets came in. I'm proud of Jake Paul for showing resilience. He got rocked. He came back. Never once did he touch the canvas. There's been many people in there with TYRON Woodley who've touched the canvas or been stopped. Not the goofy YouTuber. Oops. Yeah? Meanwhile, KSI is running, talking about doing rapping, doing his crap rap. Guess what? Jake Paul's in there with Hall of Fame UFC GOATs. Let's see KSI versus TYRON Woodley, shall we? Yeah? How about that? Oops. You don't want to see that, do you? Because your man's Messy SI, yeah, Cook SI will get smoked. So you don't want to watch that. And to be honest, I think that the fact Jake Paul hasn't knocked everyone out will be good. Because maybe some of them scary looking asses like KSI will actually want to fight now. Because KSI didn't want no parts. Yeah? So this is actually beneficial to Jake Paul's career, I believe. But yeah, amazing performance. I'm gassed. I just hope that Jake Paul isn't disheartened. I hope he wants to carry on. Because he did say some weird things in the post-fight press conference. I mean, in a post-fight interview. But you know what? I'll talk about that in a separate one. Still.